Okay, get ready for a fascinating story. We're going to talk about how our whole understanding of something as simple as healing a cut got completely turned on its head. All thanks to one researcher who dared to question centuries, literally centuries, of accepted medical wisdom. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, you probably have, right? It's one of those bits of advice that's just in the air we breathe. Your parents told you, your grandparents told them, don't put a bandage on it, let the air get to it. It just sounds right, doesn't it? Feels like common sense. And here's the thing. For a very, very long time, this wasn't just some old folk remedy. This was actual medical doctrine. But that belief, held for centuries by doctors and healers, was based on a total misunderstanding of how our own bodies heal. So let's start with what we can call the Great Scab Myth. Because for ages, the way we approached healing was dominated by this one big idea. The thinking went something like this. The absolute best thing you could do for a cut was to let it get dry and form a big, hard scab. I mean, that scab was seen as nature's perfect little shield, right? A built-in bandage that would protect the wound from all the nasty germs while the healing magic happened underneath. It was just the way things were done. But then one guy came along and decided to, actually test this ancient idea. And that brings us to George Winter's radical experiment. You can pretty much split the entire history of wound care in two. And the dividing line? It's the year 1962. That's when a researcher named George D. Winter published a paper, it wasn't even very long, in the super prestigious journal Nature. And that one paper, that one single publication, would mark the end of the dry healing era and the beginning of everything we know today. Winter's big idea was so simple, it was almost genius. He looked at that hard, crusty scab, the thing everyone thought was this amazing protective barrier, and he just asked, what if it's not actually helping? What if it's actually getting in the way? So he designed this really brilliant, really elegant experiment. He used pigs, because pig skin is surprisingly similar to ours, and he made two sets of identical shallow wounds. The control group got the old school treatment, just leave them exposed to the air, let a scab form. But the test group, he covered their wounds and kept them in a moist environment, making sure a hard scab could never even form in the first place. All right, so the stage is set. You've got centuries of medical wisdom on one side and a simple, covered, moist wound on the other. Before I show you what happened, what's your guess? Who do you think won this showdown? Well, the answer wasn't just an answer. It created a whole new field of medicine, the moist healing principle. And the data, well, it was about as clear as it gets. The results weren't just a little bit different. They were staggering. It wasn't even close. The wounds that were kept moist, the ones that never got that hard scab, healed so much faster than the ones left to dry out. How much faster, you ask? Twice as fast. Just let that sink in. Twice as fast. This wasn't some tiny improvement, this was a game changer. His experiment proved that by stopping a scab from forming, you could literally cut healing time in half. So, why? What was going on? This was the big myth-busting conclusion. Winter proved that the scab, which we all thought was nature's perfect bandage, was actually the opposite. It was a roadblock, an obstacle that our own body had to fight its way around just to heal itself. Okay, to really get why, we need a quick science lesson. I promise it's cool. It's a process called epithelialisation. It's a fancy word, but all it means is new skin cells moving across a wound to seal it up. It's basically the final step in healing a cut. And this is where it all clicks. Imagine those new skin cells are little repair workers. In a dry wound with a scab, it's like they have to climb over a rocky, dried-up, cracked desert. They have to burrow underneath that scab. It's slow, it's hard work. But in a moist environment, there's no desert. It's like a freshly paved superhighway. The cells can just glide right across smoothly and quickly and get the job done in record time. Now, this discovery wasn't just some interesting fact for a textbook. Oh no, it kicked off a complete medical revolution that has worked its way all the way into your medicine cabinet at home. You can't overstate the impact of this one paper. To this day, it's been cited, meaning referenced by other scientists in their own work, over 2,000 times. It's the bedrock. It's the foundational text for pretty much all modern research into how wounds heal. Let me be crystal clear. The entire multi-billion-dollar advanced wound care industry that we have today is built on the foundation of this one simple experiment. It all goes back to George Winter having the guts to ask, hey, what if that scab is actually the problem? So the next time you open up your first aid kit and you pull out one of those clear film bandages or a hydrocolloid one for a blister or any of those fancy gel or foam bandages, you are holding the direct result of Winter's 1962 paper. Every single one of those products is designed around that one core principle: keep the wound moist so it can heal faster. And that kind of leaves us with a big final question, doesn't it? The idea of letting it air out felt like solid gold common sense for centuries, until one person got curious enough to actually test it. It really makes you wonder, what other obvious truths are we all just accepting right now that are just waiting for the next George Winter to come along and ask a simple, brilliant question?